Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're talking about triangulation in relationships. That's right, today we are talking about triangulation in relationships. And what this is really talking about is a specific behavior where two people are having an argument or a discussion about something, and one of them brings in someone else to kind of be that third person, so you get that triangle shaped relationship in there. And usually they're doing it to kind of bring in that third person to kind of deflect some of the tension. It could also be kind of like some of the regrets or some of the other issues that are going on and kind of blaming someone else. It could be creating another conflict between the other two so that it kind of unspotlights their energy. And usually you see this a lot with narcissistic energies. Or this could be reinforcing their sense of rightness and superiority. If the other person had been like, yes, you're in the right, yes, you did all this right, and that person is in the wrong, they may bring up all of this to kind of like bring in that other person. Yes, she told me, or she agreed with me that you're in the wrong. She agreed with me that you did something wrong. And so it's one of those, it kind of brings out this very crazy energy. And like I said, it's usually people, not everybody does this is a narcissistic, but I will say that usually a narcissistic is going to do that, especially if they've been talking to the other person and gotten them already on their side. They're going to do that. People with narcissistic tendencies or personality disorders usually do the triangulation to kind of maintain control over the situation or manipulating everybody in the situation. Narcissistics triangulation usually is a one-on-one conversation, and when you disagree with them or have any arguments with them, then they want to bring in someone else to kind of reinforce that they're right and you're wrong. And suddenly you find yourself kind of left out and kind of like being ignored or even overruled because the other two are going to agree with each other. And that's why usually the narcissistic brings them in, is because they already know that person is going to agree with me, and so they're going to be happy. This is definitely a manipulation tactic, and may have you feeling like off balance or not in harmony, or even kind of like totally anxiety ridden, stressed out, because that narcissistic energy is going to do this to kind of keep you in that way, so you can't really think about things, or kind of you're so stressed out you can't really think through things. You might find yourself having a sense of insecurity of, I thought we were on the same page, or I thought we were getting close to a resolution, and now I feel like we're further apart than before. You may be doubting yourself or questioning yourself because it's like, wait, where did this come from? I wasn't expecting this at all. I will say, usually trying to find your own coping mechanisms or kind of a strategy to use during this. Once a narcissistic person uses this and it works for them, they will use this over and over and over. It's kind of like their favorite tool. They're going to keep doing this, especially if it looks like they're going to lose control or lose their manipulation in this. And sometimes it's really, they don't really bring in the other person, but they bring in what they said, and they'll say, well, so-and-so said this, da-da-da-da-da, or so-and-so said this, da-da-da-da-da, and they're agreeing with me. And it's like, okay, the person agreed with you, but did you tell them the whole story, or did you only give them your narcissistic side of the story? And so that's kind of where you get into that manipulation of it. Of course, they're going to agree with you if they've only heard one side of the story. You've sold them that side of the story in hopes of them giving you a quote. So you, when your spouse or whoever you're in a partnership with or whoever you're arguing with says something against you, can be saying, well, my boss said da 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 da, and you're like, the boss doesn't even really know our relationship, or does he know our relationship? Why is he saying this? So that's kind of something to kind of think about, kind of the motivations of why they're doing this, or why should I care what your boss has to say, or your friend, or whatever it is, your mom or brother or sister, whatever it is that they bring into this triangulation. Like I said, they use it to control people. I would say people with narcissism don't always use like blatant tactics like this, but they will use this calling out aggression, calling out violence of energy, and they will do it to kind of gaslight you or give you the silent treatment or the triangulation issue to kind of keep you off balance. What they're trying to do is keep that person off of balance. So when you feel like that, it's time to like get out of there or get away so you can kind of think your own thoughts and kind of like, wait, I already knew what I want. And sometimes they'll even have you dealing with that at times where you're kind of like, wait, I thought I knew what I said, and now they're making me even question what I thought. And that's when you know that you're being manipulated. When you're like, I don't even know how I think about this, that's your sign that you're being manipulated. Even if you offer praise and energy to the narcissistic, they're going to find some way to kind of pull the rug out from underneath you, because they're going to feel like you're not on their side. Like I've done before in a couple other videos about narcissistic energy, when that narcissistic is feeling out of control, they are going to do whatever it takes to kind of bring it back into control, whatever that energy is. And they feel like either you're 100% for them or 100% against them. There's nothing in the middle. So if you're like, well, I'll be your friend once in a while, they don't understand that. Either you're for them or against them, but there's nothing in the middle. Usually when I see a lot of people using triangulation, usually it is in a family situation. So they'll put the parents two are arguing, or the parents are arguing with the child, or the parents are arguing with someone else, a brother or sister in the family, and they will bring in this triangulation. Oh, well, aunt so-and-so or cousin so-and-so or mom so-and-so said this, and they're doing it to kind of bring out their energy of kind of they're on my side, they love me, they're listening to me, they're listening to my side, and they're hoping that you'll see it as they're kind of like bumping up their side, or they'll feel more energized because someone else is agreeing with them. Usually when you have this triangulation and the children are not young, they're kind of older, even young, older teenagers or young 20 years old, you will have the parents lying or manipulating the older children into believing the fault of someone else, or it's the child's fault, and the parent is never at fault. So you kind of know, like when someone says it's never my fault, you know they're the narcissistic. Usually it's like, yep, you're the one. I will say they usually are ignoring rules and limits set by other family members, or even the adult child. You'll see a lot of that. I will say that you're going to see a lot of this manipulation over time, kind of receiving that energy from another person, especially when you have big family gatherings, like when you have Thanksgiving or Christmas, when you have a lot of family members together. That person is going to feel out of balance more, and they're more likely to start issues like this in there. Usually what happens if it's between two parents and one of the parents chooses to return to the relationship, it's almost like the best way you can do it is kind of be back in that narcissistic bubble, thinking that narcissistic is perfect, because once you're out of that bubble, it's one of those, you see everything for what it really is, and that's when you kind of go, oh my gosh, this is worse than I ever thought. So if you can stay in that narcissistic kind of bubble with them, you're okay, you're all right. But once you're out of that, you're going to feel unprotected, and you're going to feel like the narcissistic is always going to win. I guarantee you they don't always, but I guarantee you they want you to think that they always win. A narcissistic is going to divide and conquer. That is the main thing that they're going to do. And if they're doing it with triangulation, they're going to feel like we're together on this and you're separated. You're not the same as everybody else. Everybody else agrees with me, or so-and-so said this, or my boss said this, or my friend said this, and they're doing it to make you feel like you're on your side by yourself, but I guarantee you, you're not. So I think one of the best things to understand with this is that when this starts, if you can leave the situation, to get out of the situation, because once the gaslighting starts or the triangulation starts, it's only going to go downhill. It's only going to get worse from that point on. It's not going to get better. So let's pull some angel cards and get us a little bit more information on triangulation with narcissistic energy. The first one is abundance. They have to feel like they are on top of the world. They have to believe that they're in the right, and they will do it any way they can. And even if that's sharing a story that they know is false in some way, they're going to do it to make everybody on their side and not on yours. Listening. When you really start listening to their stories, you can tell that they're lying. You can tell that they're coming up with this on the fly, or they're coming up with like, so-and-so said this or so-and-so said that. And you'll realize like, wow, they're really not telling me the truth, or why should I care what that person says? Why should I care what that person says or does or anything else? Like, why should I care about that part? Emerging. As you listen to their energy and kind of shifting and changing, knowing your energy is shifting and modifying as well, and you're emerging into a new realm of who you are, and being able to stop some of this energy before it even happens is important. New love. You have to love you more than anything else. I guarantee you that narcissistic person feels like you're the enemy of the world, and you may feel like you are as well, but I guarantee you that's what they want you to feel, so that you don't feel like anybody else loves or supports you, because they have to feel it more than anybody else. Friendships. Narcissistic friendships are always about the narcissistic. They're never about anybody else. They're never about how things are going to get better for everybody, or how to shift or change, or if the narcissistic is going to make changes. It's usually very short-lived. They're going to do it for a period of time and out until they get out of that honeymoon phase, and then it's going to start all over again. Miracles. There can be miracles, but I guarantee you have to learn how to stand up for yourself. Once the narcissistic is trying to do gaslighting and the silent treatment or triangulation or anything like that to maintain an upper hand, you've already kind of lost. And so your best miracle is to get out of the situation, or to find some way of getting some help or support on your side. Focus. The best thing you can do is focus on what you know is truthful. The best way to do that is to know what you know. Write it down, tell yourself over and over again, because a lot of times that narcissistic will say it and you're so accustomed to listening to them that it almost sounds like your own voice, like, wait, that's completely different than I remembered. And they're going to do that until you remember it their way, or until you decide what is best for you. New beginnings. The best thing you can do with narcissistics and triangulation and their way of kind of like trying to maintain or order or an upper hand over someone else is start new beginnings. Start calling them out on it early. Don't let it get too far in advance. Call them out on it before it gets to that stage. If necessary, leave the situation so you can feel better about it, even if you're by yourself. I know a lot of people that have grown up in narcissistic families will tell me, I'd rather be home by myself than in that situation. I agree. It can be very, very overwhelming and upsetting, because it's kind of like you grew up in that, and it's easy to fall back in that. But you can start new beginnings in this. You can start new beginnings and going, I'm not falling in that again. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.